hello to all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It is really a sincere and honest pleasure and honor to be here together with all of you today. It was wonderful to see these diverse, colorful, integrated faces all coming on across the screen. So it's really nice to see how wonderfully this food system family is growing. And always very nice to be with, let's say, forward-looking food system leaders when talking about food systems. My name is Herman Snell. As mentioned by Bram, I work for Wageningen University in Research, and I've been working on food system transformations and sustainable transformations for the last couple of years. And I've been asked to facilitate this session, which is block 3, which really looks into how do we actually do food system transformation? So we talk a lot about it. We know the theory, we know the concepts, we know the frameworks, but translating that into actual transformation processes that are actually impact positively our food systems is quite a challenge. So for today's session, we've brought two very interesting guest speakers along. I'm allowed them to present themselves, but we've really looked for people that are in that interface between thinking about food systems, but also making food system transformation happen in reality. And I'm very happy that Mutuma and Ellen will be joining us today to share with us some of their experiences, their lessons, but also some of the, of the frustrations that they've felt in their journeys to transform food systems. And what they've done with those frustrations to overcome them and find bypasses and other mechanisms to actually continue doing their important and impactful work. So without any further ado, I'd really like for Ellen and Mutuma to present themselves. They will then afterwards also share with us a presentation with some of their insights, and we'll have time to reflect as a group together on that. I'm going to first ask Ellen. Ellen, would you like to unmute perhaps also? Yes, there. And
Yes.
in a short minute, try to introduce yourself. I'm putting this on you because I wouldn't be able to do it in a short minute.
Thank you, Herman. Yes, such a great pleasure to be here. Do you hear me well?
Perfect.
Everyone does? Okay, good. Yeah, my name is Ellen. I'm currently working at Wageningen University. I worked for a long time in development, always on food system, global value chains related topics. And today I will present you something on the European Deforestation Regulation, or better said, the European Green Deal that aims to transform our European food system, but has huge consequences for food systems elsewhere. And I want to trigger indeed your minds about the externalities of food system transformation. So that's what I'll be talking about today. If there's any questions indeed about me, my profile, my background, let me know later.
Great. Thank you so much, Ellen. I'm very happy to have you with us, and very nice topic that you'll be sharing with us today. Then, Mutuma, I'd also like you to share a couple of words about yourself. Just introduce yourself and what you're working on currently.
Hello everyone. My name is Mutuma Muriuki. I am based in Kenya, and I'm Kenyan. I've been in the agroecology systems and also the food value chain for quite a bit now, around 8 years and counting. So what I'm doing is that I have a startup, an agritech startup that is supplying solutions to farmers, be it a pest management solution and soil-based management solution, and you'll see it later in my presentation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Great. So the setup is we're going to start with Mutuma's presentation. Then I'm going to ask Ellen to briefly reflect on what she recognizes, some of the similarities that she sees in her work. And then we'll hear a little bit more about Ellen's work, particularly this focus on that policy element. And then we'll start to engage in sort of some reflections. And I'll ask in also for you to, as participants, to ask some questions. So firstly, I'd like to ask Mutuma. Please share your screen, Mutuma. I'll be sort of sending you a subtle reminder when you have 5 minutes left in your presentation. Yeah?
Okay.
Perfect. All yours, Mutuma.
Thank you very much. So my name is Mutuma Muriuki, and I'll be presenting to you how I do my transforming agriculture through sustainable solutions. the CEO of Bristo Limited. So the problem is the locked-in food systems. And by the end of my presentation, you will have seen how the multi-level perspectives come into play, where on the niche level, we have the radical green innovations that we currently have in the company. Because we are trying to have the seeds, these are the seeds of sustainability transformation. And then on the meso level, where there is the social technical regimes, we'll venture into how the associated rules and institutions are either hindering or promoting what we are doing in the food systems transformation. Then finally, there is the social technical landscape, where now these are the broad exogenous developments that shape niche regime developments. So they all work together one after another, but they are quite intertwined. And all this is because the current food systems approach is agro-industry dominant, especially reliant on synthetic inputs with increasingly more input with less output. We have the challenge of the market access. This is for the alternative inputs and also the kind of food that we are producing. We are trying to have organic markets for organic foods, which are still niche for most people. Then you have the policy barriers and then farmer adoption. And finally, I will take you through how I'm able to have the sustainable alternatives and enabling environments. So my journey as a dreamer in these systems leadership is that my inspiration comes from where I grew up. I've grown up. I come from a place in Kenya that is close to the mountain. So we've been a close-knit community of farmers. So that's how I was able to learn and appreciate agriculture. And also in my background and my studies, I undertook horticulture and agroecology, where now I was able to really understand how these particular food systems that we currently have in Kenya works and if there's any room for improvement. Then because of how I was able to get inspired, there was the development. I came up with the idea of having solar traps, especially curated for the tropical setup. As you can see in the picture here, this is a solar light trap that is able to attract pests that affect our crops in the night, especially fruit pests like avocado, force called moth and the like, while eliminating, while sparing the beneficial insects. That's the bees, the butterflies that enable us in pollination. So this is a toxin-free and a residue-free solution. And also we have biochar-based soil amendments that we are also supporting our farmers, and it's still a niche product because we're still just trying as a startup. And then our aim for all of this is cost effectiveness, eco-friendly alternatives to the chemical and pesticide and the pesticides. And for the biochar biofertilizer, you'll see a little later how I'm able to work with the policy regimes and policy environments, whereby we're trying to shift the dynamic to help farmers not only blend synthetics and organic fertilizers, where now the biochar comes in, so that farmers not only take care of their plants, they also take care of their soil, because without which we will not have any kind of production. And also just to note that Kenya has different food basket regions. And since our staple crop has been maize, the food growing areas have been reducing in terms of yield. 30 years ago, 1 acre farm was able to produce 60 bags, 100 kilo bags. But currently, it's only able to get up to 15, and yet there's a lot of inputs that are put into that piece of farm. So how do I do it, and what are the challenges that I face? So with what I'm doing as a niche product, especially selling my product, we've been having so many problems, especially with the farmers themselves, because the farmers already know of the pesticides that they buy. But then again, they use them indiscriminately, which makes them still not work to their desired outcome. So when you introduce a new solution, albeit a little bit expensive initially, it becomes difficult for them to make that switch. And it's really not a factor of finances, it's really a factor of return on investment and how they are able to understand what they are doing to the environment and also to their crops. Because yes, they know the dangers of excessive use of pesticides, and also the market does not want fruits or the vegetables that are full of chemicals, but they usually have a very thin line at which they move. So they usually either go for what's easy to work with, that is immediate, or for those who are going organic, they know that it will take time. It takes a few months or a few years for the ecosystem within their farm to actually change. So now, as we are building towards the niche, towards the niche environment, we build farmers' knowledge base, not just to sell them the product, but to educate them and to move with them step by step. So because this picture, we took it a few days ago in one of our lead farmers, and the farmer has been able to really employ the use of this product within the different crops and the different sectors of his farm, which have actually increased his overall output. Yes. So what next now? I will explain it in my. So this is now the multi-level perspective and how we are explaining the transition. And in the first few minutes, I've showed you how myself as Bristo we are able to have the radical green innovation through solar traps or the pest management systems, the biochar fertilizers, so that we help farmers increase their yield while also increasing their nutrient density for their crops and also for their yield. Because what we are currently having in Kenya is something called silent hunger, where you eat a lot of food, but ideally you've not had anything because the food has no nutrients, the food has no microorganisms that we need in our guts for proper functioning, because we killed all that in the soil. So this kind of training has been building farmers knowledge base, but then it takes time. It takes a lot of time and also a lot of effort to the training and for them to actually see and realize results, because you can only go so far if you are a startup and also if you are doing it by yourself. So that's why now I need to have to build networks and have a collective mindset and look for people with a common agenda in agroecology. So that's where now the second step comes in, whereby I've been able to work with the different organizations, and also I am the vice chair of an association that is coming up. It's called Organic Fertilizers and Input Manufacturers Association of Kenya, whereby different stakeholders, also small startups or organizations that are coming up with alternatives in Kenya. So we teamed up to have an association where now we are able to showcase our products to the government, to show them how it's working, and also so that we can put our ideas and information together so that we can showcase to farmers within different parts of the country. Because what we've also noticed is that the current regime only favors the large agrochemical inputs, because they have the lobbying capacity, they have the mechanism of either importing or working with at almost minimal margins, while the small scale companies that are working in agroecology, trying to create solutions that are communally owned, are not able even to make a profit out of what they are selling. So,
5 minutes left.
okay. So as we are overcoming the resistance from current regime, we are building networks with different farmer cooperatives, and also the fact that we are working with organizations like GIZ, Biovision Africa Trust, and the African Food Systems Network. Then finally, the last part is we are influencing power and policy, where now this is the largest part of it all, where we build policies, or rather we work into the current policies that are already in effect. For example, the national agroecology policy that was launched late last year in Kenya. And then within that and a few other policies, we have micro policy briefs that focus on soils. That is what we were working on a little while ago. Also improving the regulatory and policy environment, because currently they only favor the large organizations. And then again, that's how the county government and the national government comes in. So this is me or myself. I'm at the far left here. I'm the only youth in this picture. And as you can see, we are at the Dairy Research Institute under the government of Kenya, where we had this whole team of experts who are able to help us craft a policy brief so that we can push the organic fertilizer agenda to the farmers, and also to make it easier for them. Then this is me here, I'm behind here. I am not exactly training these farmers, but this is the solution that we gave them. So we have a lead farmer who was able to use the product for a while, and is now spreading the gospel to this whole group of farmers. And you can see this is his farm. So in this case, I don't have to go and sell the product. I sell the vision, and then the farmers take it up and carry it on their own. So what are the current challenges? We have the policy biases, again, favoring the large agribusinesses over the smallholder sustainable organizations. And again, this is because of the human bias that we have had, and it has been entrenched in the industry, making us not really make headways. But because of the few consistent efforts that we are making with the policy briefs, with working with media, and also building platforms that will bring in farmers, we are able now to change that into an opportunity where our farmers are able to ask for the solutions directly. So also by influencing policy and changing the rules of the game, we are able to push for agroecology-friendly regulations, apart from what we have, not only for agriculture, but for health of our children, for health of the economy, and also the health of the environment. So this is now helping us strengthen the multi-actor coalitions for sustainable farming advocacy, and promoting incentives for organic inputs, so that it's also our inputs are under either subsidy programs that are more affordable to the farmers, and then farmers see the impact, then they are able to have that shift or transition into what is friendly for the environment and for us. The key takeaways and the call to action is the systems change requires both technical innovation and institutional shifts. And this requires not only niche innovation, niche works, for example, what I'm doing, but also work with other like-minded individuals that will build a wave that no one can ignore. Then also the policy change, it helps us easily transition into agroecology, and that's how we are able to drive impact. So join us as we make this sustainable agriculture in Kenya possible. This is your host, or rather, this is your presenter, Mutuma Muriuki, and thank you for having me.
Great job, Mutuma. Thank you so much. Very wonderful, insightful presentation. And I think you've touched in 15 minutes on many different topics that the participants that are here in the room with us have been thinking about, have been learning about over the past weeks. So I hear you talk about lock-ins, about dealing with power issues in the food system. I hear you about changing the rules of the game, addressing those deep leverage points. And I also hear you developing from a personal initiative, a more collective sort of mindset to support the development of policy from the bottom up, from those that are working on agriculture. And I think those are very interesting topics for many of us. And I'm also curious, Ellen, we know that you are working on food systems and food systems transformations for a number of years. And I'm curious if anything that Mutuma shared with us, if you recognize some of those patterns, some of those elements that he is addressing or actually facing front on.
I absolutely do. Thanks, Herman. And thanks, Mutuma, for the wonderful presentation. It's so nice to see how people indeed actually really try to change things. I had written down a number of questions, but then in the last slide, Mutuma started to respond to them. Because as Mutuma indeed referred to the multi-level framework, he nicely shows how, well, his company is actually at the niche level, trying to change what's called the dominant regime. And I was wondering a bit, because, well, I think the business itself is convincing, how he tries to, well, indeed, change this regime level, which is a bit higher and, let's say, oftentimes at a national or regional level. But Mutuma already clarified that he's trying to link up now with farmers' organizations and other NGOs to make a broad base of countervailing power. But I'm also curious, Mutuma, how do you, let's say, deal with the incumbent actors, with the government, with maybe, well, big agrochemical companies that, are afraid of what you're doing? Do you engage in conversations with them? Do you, maybe you're, well, an activist and you try to ban their work? I was curious to the strategies you try to employ together with these others to change the, well, regime in place.
Okay, so how do I deal with the incumbent actors? So like I mentioned, we're already working with the government and also with the policymakers, and the picture I shared with the large group of experts is that there is also some people who already represent the current organizations that are dealing with synthetic fertilizers. But also, even for them, they have recognized and they have accepted that there is a huge problem with how people use synthetic fertilizer, because there's no way you can use 5 bags of synthetic fertilizer, which can be expensive, but then you can't get the optimum amount of yield because that declines over time. So they have agreed, and they also know that soil needs organic matter. So for us creating a policy with them, they accept and they see the need for us to advise the government, who can also advise the farmer, that there's a need to have either, currently it's we want to have a ratio approach where farmers can use like 70% synthetic, 30% organic, and then the next season can be 50% synthetic, 50% organic, so that the farmer is able to work with economies of scale, and then improving the soil and the yield over time. So that at the end of the day, now the farmers are able to transition over time, because again, all of these actors have a role to play. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So it's really, let's say, collaborative, and not in terms of fighting, but really trying to seek new ways. Yes, nice. Well, actually, Herman, that was my only question. The rest was
No,
quite
no, that's
clear.
and I think we'll come sort of we'll touch on more questions. I already see a lot of questions coming in the chat. So thank you for your wonderful presentation once again, Mutuma. I'd like to now sort of move on to Ellen's presentation.